Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today I'd like to take a look at this brand spanking new game called Steampunk Rally. Now this has just rolled fresh off the press. For its Kickstarter backers, they are already getting it. But this is going to be, I believe, officially released at Essen. We have already talked about it a little bit on our Essen preview videos, so go check those out if you haven't already. But Steampunk Rally is a game by Oren Bishop, and it is put out by Roxley Games. It's basically a steampunk version of a race between history's inventors from all over the world, way back in time. And they have been called to the Swiss Alps for a challenge race to see who is the best inventor of all time. Let's take a look at it, see what you think. Rather than focusing on all the players that are taking part in the game, this one is a little bit more difficult to do because all of the turns are done simultaneously. So in order to give you a feel of how the game flows, it's rather difficult to do a simultaneous action game that way, where I'm trying to show you what multiple players are doing. So this one is going to be a little bit more of kind of like a first-person aspect of how to play the game of Steampunk Rally. We're going to try to show you just what I would be doing on my turn, and of course I'll be explaining exactly what will be happening during each phase. Now, at the beginning of the game, the first thing that you would do is you would take this directional marker and you would flip it just like a coin, like so, and whatever it lands on, it is then placed between two random players. We'll just say it's between myself and the person sitting over here. And what this simply means is that either myself or the person sitting next to me will be the first or the last in every round. So basically what will happen here is that this person will be the first, and it will go around this way. The first phase of the round is the draft phase. Okay, each person will get 4 cards, one from each of the decks of cards that are over there. So these 4 cards that are in my hand do a number of different things. There's one from each of the decks of cards. The black border cards are called boost cards, and basically they give you an effect that you can use anytime during the game, except when right down here in this corner it will tell you when you specifically can play it. Then there are the bronze deck, which give you more fire dice or coal burning dice. These are these kinds of dice, but you can, this is the type of die that you have to roll. This symbol means that it can be any number die that goes here, and that will generate you 3 cogs. If you would like during your turn to burn this card, in other words, not make it part of your contraption, you can put it back into the discard pile and gain 2 red dice or 2 cogs. The silver deck are generally to get steam powered dice. This one allows you to roll a yellow die. Any number can be put here, and you would get this effect: a cog and 2 blue dice. In the gold deck, these are mainly electric power that you can burn these cards for, or cogs. This one allows you to place 2 yellow dice here, and for every multiple of 3, you can move forward 1 or reinforce your contraption, your invention, so that it can sustain more damage without blowing up. I'm going to use the poppet valve here, and I'm going to place it back here behind my cockpit. And then these 3 cards would go over here to the next person. Now, as far as placing things in your contraption is concerned, you have to match 1 steam valve on the card face. So for example, I could put it here, or I could put it here because it's matching a steam valve there. I could not, however, put it here yet because there's nothing connecting. The main rule that you need to follow here is that you have to be able to trace a solid line of connecting full steam valves back to your cockpit. And you can rearrange your invention at any time throughout the game to optimize all of those steam valve connections. So during the draft would continue, and this person passes me 3 cards. Some cards have light bulbs on them, And light bulbs are going to be cards that automatically trigger for you and give you some special effect. At the beginning of the race phase that we'll get to in a moment, this will be flipped over, and every card that has a light bulb icon automatically fires. Okay, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. I have a lot of yellow dice here, so I'm going to burn this auger card. And burning simply means that you place it back into its discard pile, and that gives me either the chance to take 2 dice and put it into my pool, or to take 2 cogs and add it to here to use in a future turn. On this one though, I'm going to choose to take 2 dice. Then these are passed. Then the person on my left passes me 2 more cards, and I think I'm going to add this generator to my invention here. Another rule that you need to make sure you adhere to when you're placing things into your invention is that the card title must always be able to be read right side up. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. That gets passed, and then finally the last card gets pulled around, a heat sink. Well, I don't have any red dice. What this would allow me to do is, if I place a blue die here of any color, I would be able to get a cog and vent or remove a heat die from my invention. Well, right now I'm not using a heat die, so this doesn't really do me any good. I also don't need any heat dice, so this is kind of a non-card for me, so I'm just going to burn it to get 2 cogs. So I'm going to burn that there, and I get 2 cogs here, and that is the end of the draft phase. After the draft phase comes the vent phase. Now normally you're going to have dice here that are going to be what you used last turn. And so in this turn, I have these that are just taking up space. I cannot reuse them this turn. They're just taking up space. I can only roll 2 dice to be able to place here. So what I want to do is get rid of these dice so that I have more spaces to put dice that I'm going to be rolling this turn. All right, so what I can do during this phase is, first of all, if you kept any of those boost cards, those cards that looked like this, if you have any of those kinds of cards that you want to play during this turn, that would be done in turn order. But if that doesn't happen, everybody has the ability to vent dice from their machine. And so venting dice is done by using cogs. Every cog that you spend allows you to vent 2 pips off of a die. So this would be able to, would allow me to take this 2 and get rid of it. And then this cog would be able to take this 3 down to a 1. All right, and so that's venting. You can also use cogs during the race phase to add pips to a die so that you can effect greater use out of your machine parts. After the vent phase is done, everybody moves on to the race phase. The race phase is where you take your pool of dice and actually roll them and start trying to move your contraption down the racing field. First, during the race phase, is your light bulb triggers. Now, my light bulb, I don't have any others but this one, and it allows me to either take a yellow die or vent or get rid of a yellow die. So I don't have any yellow dice to vent, so I'm going to take a 3rd yellow die, and that is done here. So we place that over there, and now we take our dice and we roll them. Now, I rolled a 5, 1, and a 2. What I can use is these dice in the yellows. Now, I didn't have any blues, so these I'm not going to be able to use. So my yellows are going to be able to go here. Now, what we do is we take the 5 and put it there, and then the 1 and put it there. That gives us 6 total in this machine part. That means I can do that twice. Now, I normally would be able to add that here, but since a 2 doesn't give me 1 more use of this machine part, I'm not allowed to add that die to the machine part because it does me no good. All right, so this is unusable in this case. Now, had this been a 3, I would be able to add that as well because that gives me 1 more use of that machine part. But hence, it is only a 2, I cannot use it. So because I have 6 here, that allows me to move forward 2 times. So I would take and go 1, 2, That's the end of my phase. This die, being unused, goes back to the supply, and now we move on to the damage phase. The damage phase is where you look and see if you took any damage. I did not take any damage. Since I didn't take any damage, that stays there, and nothing happens during the damage phase. Now at the end of the round, we flip all of our light bulb tokens back over. We flip the turn order token back over, which means that now on this next round, I'm going to get the first set of cards, and then we'll pass around to the left. Now as the second round begins, we do our draft again, and so the draft happens. I'm going to be, let's see, I need some blue dice because those are going to be helping me a lot. I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to burn it for 2 blue dice, okay? And then I pass these to the player over there. Then this player over here passes me 3 cards. Now this is an interesting card because these allow you to store dice. Notice how there isn't an icon in the middle and there's no outline. These allow you to store dice from one hand to the other. That last round when I had this one left over that I could not use, if this had been part of my machine, I could have put it there to save it for this next round. But alas, it was not there. These are good cards, but sometimes they may not get what you need. Now this one here, the difference engine, is actually really good because you can use it at any time to gain 4 cogs. So I'm going to take this, place it underneath my damage token, and then these get passed to that person over here. This person passes me 2 new ones. I'm going to burn this one for 2 yellow dice to put in my pool. Then this one gets passed over, and this person passes me the last card. And we have 2 more blue dice, which could be pretty good. I think I'm going to use this to generate. I'm going to burn this for 2 blue dice. So I come over here. All right, that's the end of the draft phase. Now during the vent phase, first thing we can do is we can play cards. We ask, is there anybody playing any boost cards? And I'm going to be the first one. We go in turn order. So yes, I say yes, I'm going to play this. And this just gets me 4 cogs. So there are my 4 cogs. Okay. Everybody else goes through. Now we have the chance to vent. I have a total of 6 pips here that I want to get rid of. Now I don't necessarily need to because remember I can take a die or get rid of a die, but maybe I want to take a die there. So I am going to use 3 cogs because remember I can get rid of 2 pips with every 1 cog. So I have 3 cogs here. 3 times 2 is 6. That gets rid of both of these dice. And you put that back in the supply. Now we come to the race phase, and all of our light bulbs trigger. I'm going to get a new yellow die from my light bulb. Roll our dice. So we roll all of our dice here. So first, what you can, when you're choosing what order to do your thing, you can do them in any order that you would like. Okay, it's very liberal that way. I'm going to place this here because I can put any number there and it allows me to get 3 cogs. So that gets me 3 cogs back. Then up here, I'm going to place these. Now this one allows me, for every multiple of 2, I can generate a yellow die. So I have 6, 10, 13. That's 6 yellow dice that I can use. Quite frankly, I only have 4 spaces that I can put yellow dice in, and I've already rolled 3. But as you can see here, maybe I don't want to go that far because that's going to cause a lot of damage. So I roll these 6 dice that I just got, and I'm going to use some of these lower numbers instead of all of these high numbers. Okay, so that would be 7, and then that would be 11 altogether, which allows me, if you divide 11 by 3, it allows you to go 3 times. Now, if this would have been a 5, I would be able to move 4 times. But as it is, that's okay, because I don't really want to go that far. So I go 1, 2, 3, but I've taken 1, 2, 3 damage, so I take my damage counter and I move it to the left down to -3. And now at this point, all of these dice would go back to the supply because I don't have a space for them here. anywhere. And now we move on to the damage phase. Now I've taken 3 points of damage, which means I have to lose 3 parts to my machine. So I would have to lose 1, 2, and I would also have to lose 3 here. Now, if at any point you have to lose your cockpit, your machine explodes and you go back to the spot behind the last person in the race. If you are the last person in the race, then you simply move backwards 1 space. But since my cockpit did not blow up, I'm still okay. All of these dice go back. So these are discarded back to their rightful places. This was my original thing, but I don't get it back because it is gone. And now these guys flip back over. This flips. Now every time I lose a machine part, I move my gauge back. So I lost 3, so I move it back 1, 2, 3, so that now I am back to 0, and now the next phase or round can begin. And this is how the game would progress, each turn or each phase being done simultaneously so that no one can start the vent phase until everyone has finished the draft phase, or no one can begin the race phase until everyone has finished the vent phase, and so forth and so on. Each phase is done simultaneously until one person crosses the finish line, and then one more round is done. Whoever is furthest along after that last round is the winner. So that is Steampunk Rally. First of all, I love the historical tie-in that it has with it. I love that all of the inventors, all 16 of them by the way, are historically inclined. Not just historically inclined, but they are based upon historical figures from the world's history. All of these inventors, and they're not just from America, they're not just from Europe, they're from all over the globe, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool thing that the designer did with this game. Now, as far as gameplay is concerned, I love drafting cards. I love dice rolling. I love dice placement. I love activating special powers and being able to make your thing, whatever it is in the game, a little bit different or a lot different from everybody else's invention. I love those mechanics. I really think it's a cool idea, and it offers a lot of interesting gameplay. Now, the caveat being the way that you sometimes with card drafting, you can really get burned in any game. You just don't get the good cards while everybody else does get the good cards, or one person or a couple of people are getting all the good cards and you're just not getting the ones that you think would work best with your invention. That's really strong in this game. Venting was probably the hardest phase for me to understand at first because I didn't understand exactly how it worked, but after a few plays of it, it was very clear. As a matter of fact, my wife, as we were playing last night, said that she didn't understand the game when we first started playing, but after a couple of rounds, she was clued in and she knew exactly what was going on. So there is a little bit of a learning curve to playing Steampunk Rally, but at the same time, that makes it for an interesting game, I think. So my final thoughts on Steampunk Rally are simply this. This is a fun little race game. I love the theme. I like that there's a historical aspect to it. Overall, my rating of Steampunk Rally will be 1.5 thumbs up, because while it is not a game that I will always want to play, because it is a fairly heavy thinky game, at times, especially when your machine gets so large, you have to keep track of everything. It becomes it can become a headache to account for all of those different things. It is a fun game, and it is one that I will enjoy playing when it hits the table. So that is 1.5 thumbs up from me for Steampunk Rally. Go check it out. As always, try before you buy, folks. See you on the flip side.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.